That's me. That's Thorsten S. Wiedemann. I'm the founder and artistic director of Amaze, and I'm also a VR naut. I spent in 2016 48 hours in virtual reality with a VR shaman. She was deploying all this kind of crazy applications back in 2016, and I was never taking off the glasses until 48 hours were over. So it was a nice journey as well, doing a maze festival. And yeah, this is the thing. Where I come from, I started already. I come from the Alps. Had no clue what to do. Was a ski jumper back in the days, and there's a memorial. Martin Nuken is I'm a big fan of Martin Nuken, and yeah, so I ended up in Berlin and I needed to think about what I should do. And then I was going into all these kind of conferences, Transmediale, and I was at Club Transmediale, I was a DJ and all this kind of stuff I did. And somehow I had a talk show and somebody told me, hey, the talk show is so cool. You want to do it online? You want to go with me to GDC and see in San Francisco in the games conference all the games and ask them some questions. And I actually had no clue. It was back in 2006. I had no idea about games. I was not playing games at all. Maybe back in the days a little bit, but I was more like into arts and music. And then I discovered the IGF, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. This is something I really interests me. So also because I mean you had personal contact to the designers, and that was for me like wow, wow, wow. Maybe you could mix this up, you know, media art. I was a Transmediale, Ars Electronica, and then video games. Yeah, can this be art? And all these kind of questions going through my mind. It was back in 2007, and I was like, yeah, let's connect something like that because basically in Germany and in Europe, there was no festival around that topic. Not really. I mean, you had Indiecade in the US, you had Fantastic Arcade in the US, you had Baby Castle in the US. Everything was kind of in the US, but in Europe or even in Germany, basically was nothing. And my friend Michael Liebe and I, we were thinking like, hey, let's start something with music, exhibition, a little bit of media art, and then games, and working together with universities. So basically that was the start. It was back in 2008. And what qualifies me is basically, I think, I bring another perspective into this whole game industry and this whole game world because I was kind of coming from outside. And it was inspiring for me to talk to all these game developers and people who were working with these game engines and had crazy ideas and gameplay and game mechanics. And I was super fascinated by what they are building and how they also see the world and also see the world of technology and how to play with it. And that was something what was fascinating for me. And it was not so complicated as Transmediale or Ars Electronica because there you go to a conference, you have to know something to actually understand what they're talking about. At games conference, especially at a Maze festival, you get inspired what people are talking about. And it's easy to understand. And this is something what I like at the Amaze festival. So yeah. So the verified story of Amaze is in 2008 we started with a small bar event. Really, it was just a bar event. It was called, let me see how it was called. I mean, we celebrated computer games and art, and it was basically jump and run parties. The jump and run parties was a kind of a DJ, and we had one game exhibited. It was a networking thing for media artists and game developers. In Berlin, you have to see there was not really a big community around that. So even indie game was not the thing at this time. So, and I mean, through this Amaze Festival and through all these kind of small events, it kind of started that people kind of talk and show their games. And it was really, really nice to see how to develop a festival. And I had no idea what actually the developers want to see. I just know that I don't want to be a GDC. I don't want to be a convention. I don't want to be a festival what doesn't interest me, interests myself, you know. I want to go to a festival I really like to go, and I want to create something like that. So to what games festival I would like to go was the big question. And I want to go to a festival that is basically a raw experience, a raw, human, open-minded, and intelligent experience. And for me, important is it should be not about business. It should be not about marketing things. I mean, it's important, of course, but back in the days, it was not really so important because nobody wanted to have a middleman. Everybody wants to do their own thing to distribute their games. And in 2012, when we started to make the first Amaze Indie Connect, I was part of the Deutsche Games Week, and there were so many people who actually had no idea what to expect, but there were so many interesting topics we've been talking about, and also the games we showed there. It was just fantastic. And for me, the most important thing why we started to create this with a team together, it was the idea of being inspiring to the people who are going to the festival. Inspiring as well for me as the artistic director, to have an outspoken festival. It has to be contemporary, encouraging, mind-bending, empowering. It should be wild. I always want to have a wild festival. So we have a music. Music is very important at the festival. Every 4 days we have game musicians making their games, making their music. We have a lot of wonderful things happening there on stage, performances. And we want to have a festival where the people can reflect on what is happening. So we want to have an open discussion. And it should be opinion forming, because what I think it's, especially in the entertainment industry, is that we should be encouraged, and we should have the courage to actually say what we want and to say what we believe. And I think this is something in the entertainment industry is kind of, we hold ourselves a little bit back, we're not telling exactly because we are doing something for the market. And I think, coming later to that, Arthouse Game is exactly that you say what you want and that you say what you want to express, if it's aesthetically or if it's kind of a narrative. It should be questioning. You should questioning everything, even when we talk about AI, when we talk about NFTs and all these kind of things. We should not deny it from the beginning. We should discuss about it. And this is something where a platform is there. A festival should be there. We're not promoting something. We are talking about it. Maybe we can use it. Maybe we can use it in a better way. We understand basically what we want to do. It should be hot. It should be definitely hot, It should be really strong and hot. It should be experimental, loving, diverse, inclusive. And of course, a safe space is very important. And it should be as well unpredictable, because you, as a festival maker, you can't do everything yourself. You need to have a community who are coming on stage and say something and do something, and maybe they come and say, hey, give me just a projector, I want to do a local multiplayer tournament or whatever. So, I mean, we have to be ready for all these kind of wonderful surprises. So the Amaze mission statement is basically, Amaze is a physically and virtual platform, international and emotional moving. We are serving the adventurous art of playing and promise to do anything in order to infiltrate the game society with outspoken festivals, curation, and world building in the field of Arthouse Games and beyond. And your role as a game developer or as an institution or part of the industry is the audience will be your mirror, and you will create games. You will fund, you will publish games that have thought-provoking impact to gamers. Let's not entertain, let's disturb and challenge with artistic narratives and interaction. So this is how the festival looks like. This is, for example, Robert Young. So we have a conference, we have workshops. So we are international. So because we did from 2012 to 2017, we did a festival in Johannesburg, and we created and built up the community around or in South Africa. As well, like beginning in Berlin, everybody was kind of scattered out. Nobody knew from each other. And then through doing all these events and being regularly on place and bringing people together, you create a community. And this is something what also was happening then in South Africa. This festival is not happening anymore, but we are doing now a train jam. We bring people from Johannesburg to Cape Town. They make games in 30 hours on the train. And then there's a festival, it's called Playtopia, basically the pendant to a Maze Festival, but it's in Cape Town. And they bring the games there and then showcase the games there. And it's very important to as well give young developers from the Gauteng area, from Johannesburg, the chance to travel to Cape Town, to meet their network, to meet their game developers, and to meet the scene, and also to show what they're working on. So that's why we also work with African game developers together regularly. So we have installations like Cassine, it's a wonderful theater piece. Then we have an award show. It's very important because I come later to the awards. It's very important to have an award, especially when you have a kind of a mission statement. You want to create a kind of a new bubble. You want to create a new niche, and it's Arthouse Games called. The rise from indie games to Arthouse Games. We later can discuss as well what basically is an Arthouse game. I have my own ideas, but maybe you also have your ideas. Of course, we have music, and then after 2019, we also almost collapsed. There was something going wrong with funding, and as well, the last festival we spent too much money. It was everything kind of failing because we wanted to scale up. And this is also something what I've learned. Don't go too fast big, you know? You always have this idea, yeah, we have to go big. We need to have more people, bigger location, and so on. But when you're not prepared for that, and also even the team is not prepared for it, you just spend too much money and it's going to be a total fail. I mean, none of the people knew it at the festival, but I mean, it was in my mind, and the aftermath was really bad. So we created a Kickstarter campaign, and it was really fantastic to basically have all the community helping us to kind of survive and start and also do the next festival, what was then in 2020 total digital and not physically. But yeah, so we started a Kickstarter campaign, and here you see as well a little bit of the vibe of the festival and the attitude we have at the festival. And it's just a 1-minute clip, and I did it together with the Crows, this music video or the music, and yeah, so you hear maybe some voices you might know. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for checking in. This video is about a maze festival in Berlin. Morning 2008, a maze was there for you. You always had your energy, now we need your money too. 50K, 50K, a maze not dead. 50K, 50K, a maze not dead. Bunch of the digital age, a maze not dead. 50K, 50K, a maze not dead. You can trust us with your cash, a maze not dead. Maybe we'll buy more flamethrowers, a maze not dead. Please read the campaign description, a maze not dead. And don't forget to tweet and share, a maze not dead. Yeah, and it was good. We got to 50K. You don't have to give me money now. So we got it, and so we are safe now, and we can continue. And of course, there was COVID and all these kind of things happening, so we couldn't do a festival really. But last year, we started to do a one-day event. It was a hybrid event, and we also checked out a new location. This is Silent Green, and hopefully you can see you next year, this year as well there. It's a wonderful location to have a nice exhibition, the talks, and so on. Yeah, so for me, it's important to tell you as well how I think we can create a very sustainable, and also that people are believing in this kind of art house movement. Because indie games, everybody knows indie games, and I mean indie games or independent games, and art house games are actually independent games, but it's more like there's yeah, more honesty in there. We're not producing something for the people, for a market. We are basically doing something for ourselves, what we want to tell the people. So I think working with other institutions together helped me a lot to also reach out to artists who are basically not game developers. And I'm also not a game developer, and I come completely from a different field. But I think all these kind of different perspectives can help to actually do something more meaningful, more mindful. I don't know. So you can tell me later if you also agree. So we're working as well since years. I mean, you see already the Brain 8, it's a playful media residency. This time it was together with the artist Michel Granger. And he is doing this wonderful paintings and prints. And he gave us that one, and then I brought artists together like Ines Hills and Jalil Darv and Matthias Larsen and Audrey Below to create a VR experience. And it was very interesting as well to work with the artists together. It was not a commissioned work, but it was a work together, because I mean, he's 75 years old or something, and he was kind of, wow, this is incredible what you guys are doing. He was just like fascinated. But he also brought his kind of emotion into it, and also has his own storytelling and how he's talking about his art. And all this kind of together has become a very, very nice narrative and a wonderful VR experience, what has the title On a marché sur la terre. You can also download it later. Then we are working with theaters and operas together. And when we started in 2008, I mean, games were like, yeah, it's for kids, you know, or it's just like killer games, I don't know. So I mean, it was not really the discussion, of course. It was about art. Is it art or not? But now we don't talk about that. So everybody knows that is an art form, and it could be as well connected to anything else, you know. And I'm super happy and proud that this kind of movement is as well happening into the institutions and into this high culture, you want to call it, that people are now interested into video games and video games technology, and also the narratives and the interaction, and how we can actually bring it on stage, and how to use the technology, and how to work with a game developer together to do a special piece for the audience, if it's hybrid or if it's on stage. So this is something what is very fascinating. And then we created this kind of game jam last year. It was about coded emotions. And I think it was very, very good start for them as well to understand what means to create games. But as well, it's also hard for people who are working in theater to actually jump into the whole story, because I mean, they are not connected to work with computers so much. So, and also they have all these kind of people, usually these departments. What we also have for video games, all these departments, but these are physical departments. And I mean, the language, you have to learn the language basically to also work with game developers together, with coders together. And I think we should do more of these kind of game jams. The same is with the museums hackathon. I mean, this is really something what for me, it's like, this is a stepping stone to where I want to see video games are, you know? So finally, big museums are coming and say, hey, let's do something, let's make a game jam, or make an AR jam. So just like to bring their content into this kind of digital world. For them, it's a big revolution, you know, finally to reach out to other people, to reach out to a new audience. Because of course, I mean, museums, who's going to a museum? It's basically you finish going to museums when you're 20, when you're done with school, maybe do some research, maybe, but then there is this kind of, yeah, almost between 20 and 35 probably, this kind of time span, nobody's gonna go to a museum. So these people, they now want to get. So this is how they use as well technology to get younger people into the museums, even when it's virtual. For me, it's very important as well to play around. So to not, I don't like Gamescom. I know how important it is. I know how important all these huge shows are. It's fantastic what people are doing, because I mean, you want to market, and you also want to get feedback from the players, because I mean, maybe it's a work in progress. You also want to find a publisher, and so on and so on. But for me, it's important as a curator to bring it into a new perspective. And that's why I think you can bring any game, you can bring into a new perspective. You just have to connect the dots. And what we did here, it's basically a garden, a digital garden. I mean, with real plants. It was in South Africa. I was working with somebody together who's collecting plants. So she brought all the plants into the exhibition space, and it was moist. We had to water everything, and then we had all these cables around, and then we had screens and basically just gardening games and nature games. So, and this was a super nice experience. It was a wonderful experience for the people to explore games in a new way, you know. It's not like there's a booth, there's a huge banner, and yo, here I stay and here I sell. So it's more like for them, all this kind of product thinking is basically then gone. And I think this is important, and this is also the way of how to show art games or art house games. Traveling exhibitions. I mean, this was an exhibition at Blonde Festival. You just take what you get, you know. I mean, we just used all this kind of stuff, you know, and set everything nicely up. So it was also for me, it's important to bring exhibitions or games and art house games to other festivals. There was an animation festival in Klaipėda, Lithuania. Then I was in Belgrade and brought there an art house exhibition, and also working with music festivals together. It's important to spread it, you know, and also when people see what is there, you know. There's so many things to discover, and because I mean, the art house game scene, or even the alternative controller game scene, is unseen for people who are not into this whole bubble. So what we want to do with the festival is basically to attract as well people from outside our community to see what games can be and how different and how diverse games are. And that's why important how important exhibitions are. Of course, I mean, alternative controller games exhibitions, very cool. Then what was also very important for me, because I was 2016, I was in VR for so long, and I still stay in virtual reality, and I think it's a wonderful place to create. So world building is something what is fundamentally interesting, because I mean, in virtual reality you can really build something what is not possible in the physical world. I was working with architects together to create this VR train station, and we did a game jam there, because during COVID we couldn't go with the train, so we had to have a place. And so people were going into this train station in VR chat, hanging out and building and doing workshops. Of course, it was on Discord, but then they brought everything into this train station. And I see that there is a lot of potential in the virtual world. So even for artists, and as well for Arthouse game designers. So as well, we built then this kind of space for the Amaze Festival. So it's also something where I want to create with our team a place where actually, if there's one curator here who wants to curate a show, we can curate a show as well in a virtual space. We don't have to have a physical space. So basically, we bring the games into this virtual world, into the Amaze space. We make it nicely so that people can actually go there to the screen or can experience the game in a different way. And for me, the virtual space is the future of curation, to show to people and be as well international and faster. And as well now, because of the traveling thing, you know, it's going to be carbon oxygen. So I mean, we have to be a little bit careful with our world, and we're not going to travel too much. And I think all these virtual worlds now, nobody wants to go in there because we are hungry for having hugs and physical spaces. But I think in the future it will be coming back. And then we need those kind of places where the community can meet and explore and also showcase. So the Amaze Festival has this Amaze Award, And this is a journey, you know, from what we basically created over this 12 years. Because I mean, at the beginning, and when we started in 2012 with the festival, it was like, yeah, what should we do? You know, and was my friend Marek Plichter was helping me a lot to also get into the mind of game developers and basically what do we want to achieve with the festival and as well with the awards. And the awards is something was a big discussion because we had a jury from journalists. Ryder Butter was as well there. Then there was Marek Plichter, but there were also industry people also in the jury because I didn't know what is the jury, who should I choose. But it was interesting the decision they made. So because they had so many industry games as well there. So I mean, really indie games. So and of course, I mean, wonderful products, great games, and it was great to have all these people nominated and these games nominated. But they chose actually the direction. So we were super lucky that they said, hey, Proteus has to win. So it was basically the game from Ed Key was then the winner. And I mean, this is the list of games what we have so far. And you see, I mean, this is something interesting. So I don't know if you can read everything from behind, but I mean, it tells a story. And I mean, as well, when you see then all the nominees from before, so it's the quality is rising crazily. So I mean, before it was like you had whatever 150 or 200 submissions, and you could basically say that 80% is not an amaze game, and now it's more like, yeah, you have basically 80% can be an amaze game. And this is something what is incredible. So it's completely changed the picture. And it's I think when we have more of these festivals, amaze festivals or Indicate, and hopefully maybe there's a festival in Helsinki. I don't know if you have a festival here, like around Arthouse Games you have? No? Yeah, so, but I think about it, and then you need an award and all this kind of stuff, because I mean, then you can rise something, you can rise awareness of what people are doing, basically. And not everybody is a kind of a game developer and wants to have a studio and wants to have whatever, 20 employees, and they're sitting on the payroll. Of course, I mean, if you want to do that and want to be part of the industry, yes, but I mean, for me, it's important to find authors, people who actually want to tell some stories, even when they work alone. And yeah, I mean, this is a group of two people who did it. This is as well basically one person with a programmer who did it. Yeah, it's also one person, two people game. I don't know if David O'Reilly did it himself. Did he did it himself? Could be. I mean, Laura McGee, also it's this one person who created this game. And I mean, for me, it was also important not to have technical awards, because I mean, you have festivals with technical awards. And for me, it was like coming up with funny stuff, you know? So like the most amazing game, and then the long feature award was basically the games which are more complex, longer gameplay, more challenging. And then the Digital Moments Award, because I mean, a lot of people are doing very, very short games and poetic games. And for this, we wanted to have as well a category. But it was also evolving, because at the beginning, we just started with the most amazing. There was only one winner, he got everything. So the funny thing was as well, I couldn't pay the winner back in the days when he was winning it, so I had to wait a little bit longer. So at Key, but he got the money then. So, and then, yeah, we just expanded then from one time to another. We expanded then the awards. Explorer Award. I mean, of course, we can call it VR and AR, and then with theater and so on, so kind of specific awards. But I mean, it's exploring is much more interesting. And then we are super happy to have the Wings Award now with us, who's empowering women game developers to get funding and as well to make their games. Then local multiplayer games. I mean, this is something I missed it so much. So over the last 2 years, really to stay in one room and playing together. And I mean, it's a huge scene around local multiplayers. And this is something why we had then the Human Machine Award. The Audience Award is as well something super surprising. So what the people are picking, I was really, all the time, I was just like, they actually liked exactly this kind of unconventional gameplays. Everybody was like, wow, this is really cool. And I mean, this is mostly in our audience are game developers themselves. So, and I'm really happy about that. Some awards we just, I mean, Humble New Talent Award, it's not happening anymore because they changed their company. Other Dimensions Award was as well a little bit more into the VR thing. So we also stopped doing that, but we get them to the Explorer Award. And What the Fuck Award was also something like when we gave it the last time in 2015, people were saying, what does this mean, you know? Everybody doesn't want to have a Let's Play person say, what the fuck, you know? I mean, they want to play, and then we just stopped doing that. So, but great games. Liebe Oma, wonderful games. The Line Wobbler anyway, and Fjords, wow, great game. Yeah, you still can submit until the January 31. So we're looking for Arthouse Games specifically. Yeah, and then just like some examples, what a Maze Festival is showing, and I think it's definitely not per se Arthouse Games, but I mean this is something what inspires people to maybe think a little bit out of the box of what usually they do and what they usually think games are and how they see games and what kind of games they're playing. And I think it's also inspiring for game developers and people who are working in game production. And I mean, it's also funny to see when then suddenly somebody from Rockstar's coming up or somebody from PlayStation's coming up. I mean, they would never fund or give whatever, sponsor the Amaze Festival so far, but they're coming to the Amaze Festival because they want to be inspired, you know, they want to go there, play different games, open their mind, you know, and also go to the talks and see other perspective. Because I mean they're much younger. I mean our audience is really young. I'm basically with 51. I'm the oldest, I guess, and but they're between 18 and 30, something like that. This is the scene, and people who are coming to the Amaze Festival as well from the bigger companies. They're just like super surprised. So how open this is and how inclusive it is, and what they can discover. And hopefully they also bring it into the games production. Yeah, so Wobblesphere, Robin Baumgarten. Boredom, it's a fantastic game. It's about perfection and imperfection. It's something I really like because this is something. I mean, this is opinion building. This is something what's challenging your mind challenging your gameplay, challenging how you play the game and how you make decisions and how you think about. It's a social critical game, I would say. The same like here. This is a fantastic game. So it's very dark. It's very emotional. The rejection story is as well very personal. Personal games is something what we love at the Amaze Festival, and she did a very good job and is a very good writer. The same like a Still Stand from Ida Hartmann was winning the Most Amazing Game Award 2021. It's also a very personal story, all very nice aesthetics, and the gameplay is fantastic. Promesa is also a fantastic journey. It's a conversation between a grandfather and a grandchild, and it's about dreams and at places where the granddad was, and he was telling the stories. Then as well, something like that from Fanta Magico. They're basically doing something for fashion and as well building some toys in virtual reality. This is a person, Luisa. She's born in virtual reality, in the digital age, and you can write to her, and then she makes selfie at every place where she wants to be and changes their clothes. And it's also and you can communicate on Telegram with her, and it's basically a bot. It's quite an interesting thing how you actually can understand the future of AI, maybe. And then a group in Berlin, it's Fantasia Malware. They do as well games, and they've been nominated and also award-winning at the Amaze Festival. But what I as well like, I mean, there's and Harold is maybe here already, or is going to come later. He's going to talk about performance and performing in video games or with video games. And they basically create a whole evening, a whole night about games. What they created just specific for that topic. And it's more like a storytelling. There's a walkthrough, and then they create it with music together, and also invite some other people and some other artists to show their games there. It's a very successful event, and it's also, yeah, it's a little bit disturbing sometimes, because I mean the narratives are definitely very adult, and this is something what I also like to see in the future of video games, that is getting a little bit more adult, you know. Maybe it's just me because I'm getting older, but I mean, I can't see all this cuteness anymore. So and of course, I mean, Cara Stone, she's just brilliant. I mean, what she's working now on with the Solar server, I mean, you definitely have to check this out. So it's a server what she has basically on her balcony, and she builds now games for it because of the carbon oxygen thing. And so I have to finish. Oh my God, it's running fast. And yeah, this is basically my definition of Arthouse Games. So it's social realism, it's activism in there, authorism, it's serious artistic work, it's personal stories, it's experimental, forward thinking, not designed for mass appeal, symbolic content, unconventional narratives. And when you have all this kind of stuff in there, then you are part of the punks of the digital age. Yeah, this is the festival. It's soon. We show a lot of Arthouse games. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna come here and ask some questions. Thank you, Thorsten, for absolutely amazing, fantastic program that you've created, and we're so happy that it is with us in the field of games. We have a little bit of time before Char's presentation to have questions. So if you have any questions, there's a mic that will come to you, so raise your hand. In the chat, we are also taking questions, but I'm going to start with this.
Yes.
What is the, like, you are following a lot of different countries and different communities making art house games, but what is the most kind of discussed topic now or during 22? Like, what is happening right now? Where is the things kind of building up to? Is there anything like that? Is it just, you know, all different kinds of topics? But is there something that is very current?
I mean, one thing is very important for me. That's why we created now the Amaze Bazaar, because of course, I mean, we have game designers who are doing art house games, but you can't barely find them. So we need basically a platform, or we need publishers who as well say, hey, I want to have that game. I want to help this game up to basically to a certain level that people can discover it. Yeah. Because when you go on itch.io, it's
tons of
very hard to find something. And that's why we do the Amaze Bazaar. And I think it's like it was at the beginning. Every indie said, no, publisher, I don't want to have a middle person. Now everybody has a publisher. And I think as well, this will happen as well for Arthouse Games as well, that Arthouse Games get funded. This is very important. It's not a trend, but it's something that's very important for me.
Yeah.
And as well, what is definitely important to discuss is everything what is happening with AI at the moment. So as a field of inspiration, how to use these tools, and also where it goes. Who owns it? Can I really use it on the commercial side, or is it just like as an artistic outcome? I don't know. This is something what interests me definitely in 2023. Yeah. And yeah, I was already talking to Charlene. Maybe we can have a talk as well at the Amaze Festival about that. Yeah. And it should be reflecting as well. You know, I mean, we should talk about and we should not ban it. You know, I mean, this is something what is very important. So how we banned, for example, NFTs, you know, we just banned it. We never talked about it anymore. So, and with AI, I think it should not happen.
we need to be at least discussing
Yeah,
all the different sides.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Hopefully that helps also. Today we have 2 talks on that topic.
I know.
It's very much buzzing. Is there a certain direction you want the Arthouse Games to go to? Like, where do we want to see them? Like in the museums or in people's own computers? Like you were talking about, the discoverability is very big thing. Maybe the funding is big thing as well. But where do you want to see these creations that you put on a pedestal in your festival?
I want to see them on every platform. I want to see it on PlayStation 5. I want to see it on Xbox. I want to see it everywhere. So people should know it's existing, and there should be as well on the front page. Maybe it should be a kind of a special category or something, genre. You know, I mean, of course, I mean it's an indie game or independent game, but still it's a sub-genre somehow. And when you compare it with film, I mean, it's a niche, that's for sure. So it's for people who love movies in a different way and like to discuss it, and also like to see new narratives and like to see how film has not to be linear, you know? I mean, it's the same thing, you know? And there's so many cool things are happening in film, and this is how everybody understands as well Arthouse. So we have festivals around Arthouse, Cannes Film Festival, Berlinale, Venice. It's just an Arthouse game festival. So, and I think we need more of that in video games as well.
Yep.
And of course, I mean, some stuff will be just shown in the festival, but it's also nice to go then to the festival and see those games and
to witness the things that only happen in that location.
Yeah, I mean, of course, alternative controller games you just can play at the festival. Installations you just can play at the festival. But Arthouse Games per se, you should download. Yeah.
Good. Any question from the audience? There's one question.
Hey, thanks so much for your talk. So, I mean, you're giving this talk now at Aalto as an academic institution, and I was wondering what value, what potential do you see from connecting the community at the festival with academics in, for instance, games research or game studies or game AI and these domains? Apparently, you know, maybe you see some value in that. I'm interested in which opportunities you see specifically.
I mean,
as a background, Christian is our professor in AI, creative AI tools. Yeah.
I mean, we've been working from the beginning with institutions together, also with universities, but never on a research basis. So if there is any idea you have, and we definitely should talk and connect it, because I think this is something what brings the discussion of what we are talking about or what I'm talking about on another level, you know? I mean, this is something what I can't do. I can't be so concrete. I can't write so professionally to make this really something like, this is something serious now. So this is, of course, it's serious what I'm talking about, but when it's on an academic level, then it becomes a little bit of a different picture, right? And this is something what I definitely want. So if there is anything we should talk about, let's talk about that.
Yeah, and there's probably also scholars in the stream watching this and maybe later in the recording. So Thorsten is available for collaboration.
Absolutely. But I mean, maybe we have some more time, so is something, not a question, but maybe a statement or something like that you want to say or give me, so tell me.
Now is your chance.
So a chance. Maybe I'm wrong, you know?
There's one statement.
It's not really a statement. By the way, great talk. It's more of an open question. If what brings like the punk art house sort of experiment all together is sort of a revolution against that mainstream, how do you sustain a revolution? Is my question.
How to sustain a revolution is a good thing. I mean, I think you should not get sucked into the industry and believe the industry is something what tells you how to do it. You know, I mean, you always should think about it out of the box. I mean, you should play with the industry, but you should be dependent on the industry. This is something what makes it probably sustainable.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're gonna say thank you to Thorsten.
Thank you very much.
Gonna be here
thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you.